Hey, what's up, everybody? BroTrio here, and doing things a little bit different for this powwow because we have a video game adaptation that just finished with The Last of Us HBO series, and it's video game adjacent. We've covered actual movies and series in the past, so we figured let's get back to it with a video game series. Now, video games getting transferred into live action has not had the best track record at all. We had the Mario Brothers movie, the original one, which is just like, what the hell? How did they get this from this? And
don't know why they went full cyberpunk with it, but
it's a wild ride, but it is vastly different than anything Mario.
If you were gonna do any kind of show that would have worked, it's gonna be a Naughty Dog game.
Yeah, those are basically visual novels with pretty decent gameplay in between. But
they made some changes, but I thought the Uncharted movie was pretty good.
Yeah, I actually liked the Uncharted movie too. I didn't think it was too bad.
Yeah, that's Naughty Dog.
Yeah, that was Naughty Dog. Yeah, it was just like the Uncharted movie is a good example of good adaptations. Like they took it in a slightly different direction than the games, and it kind of worked. It wasn't as good as the games.
Marky Marcus Sully just
that was a little weird.
It was never gonna work.
Overall, they nailed the feeling of it.
Yeah,
and that was the most important part for Uncharted to me.
So Last of Us takes things a step farther, and they just start doing shit verbatim.
Just about most of the series was verbatim.
It was a good bit of it. Like there were a lot of heavy scenes that the lines, the camera angles, everything verbatim. Just put in Pedro Pascal instead of Joel's video game avatar. It was very, very good overall. We liked it a good bit. But we're going to break things down in the good, the bad, and just kind of the neutral, I guess. We'll start things off with the neutral because that's only one aspect of it. Then we'll get to the bad, and then we'll cap things off with the good. End on a high note, as we tend to do with our powwows. So the neutral...
Also, just throwing this out there, if you haven't watched it yet...
Full
spoilers.
Yeah.
From here on out.
Full spoilers for Last of Us Part 2, and the HBO series. So if you haven't seen any of those and don't want anything, get the hell out of here. Go watch some of our other videos. Yeah. But not the Last of Us 2 powwow, because I spoiled the shit out of it. So, the neutral is we don't have spores anymore. We have a hive mind, tentacular weird fungus system that is better but worse at the same time. Because
it doesn't spread the infection, but if you step on the wrong patch of grass, it calls everybody home to you. They're coming.
And that wasn't in the game, but that would be absolutely horrifying if it was.
You step on a patch of grass and the whole city wakes up and comes for you. It's
if you heard a twig snap and you look down and it was like a finger, you're just game over time, shit.
Yeah, it would be crazy. It's it actually kind of does it in the first Last of Us in the David boss fight when you have to watch for the broken plates. Otherwise, Ellie's going to step on a plate, clink the plate, and he's going to come find you. So it kind of could have been like that if you actually... I don't think that would be good for a game, honestly. Now that I thought about it for 2 seconds, because you have to have your visuals down the whole
I don't think it would work.
Yeah, you'd be crouching and looking at the ground the whole time.
But Spores worked great in the game. It added tension. It really didn't do anything, other than showcase Ellie's immunity, because...
Yeah.
It's not like you had to push a button to put your mask on. They're just there got spores in here. I'm putting this on and get going.
The only thing that it really added was it added tension to stuff that was would have otherwise been just an empty hallway between areas. Sometimes they'd have spores in there and you're going through slowly even though nothing happens.
Yeah, and when stuff does happen, you're ready for it. It's a preamble to the infected, too, because you're just oh, spores are in here. Uh-oh, that means some old infected are in here that someone started their fruiting bodies enough to spore off everything, and then you come across, clickers and bloaters and stuff like that. But the hive mind, I thought, worked a lot better, cinematically, even though spores would do great with, particle effects and lighting and stuff to, really showcase like that interesting like.
Well, the show didn't have as much just walking down hallways and talking as the game did.
Yeah.
So I think the hive mind was the right way to go, but I do miss spores also.
But like we said, an entire pile of a city of infected waking up when you step on one tentacle, like that was wild. And also, we'll go ahead and lump this in here. We didn't figure this out when we planned it, but it just popped into my head. Speaking of tentacles, the infected now to French kiss. And
that was weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
I like the gross tongue, because that makes sense a little more why a bite would spread that fast.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I did like about it.
Is it spore spit? No, it's the tendrils are in your body now.
It shoves the tentacles in, and like you saw it during that autopsy when she pulled back the skin and she just had like a layer of fungus under her skin.
Yes, that was really cool. And we'll get back to that in the good section though.
Yeah, but the French kissing thing, it was good. It made more sense, but it was just like, this is weird.
That was a weird.
I guess that was just to get her to go to convert faster.
I don't know,
because they knew she was infected. Maybe they don't know Ellie's infected. Maybe because Ellie's immune, that they don't receive her the same way.
I don't know.
Well, I think it's kind of like whales, like how. Like whales can only hear certain frequencies, so they don't like end up trying to mate with the wrong type of whale.
Yeah, maybe. It was just it brought up a weird thing, but it's since Ellie's not actively going to be a mushroom, maybe they don't receive her in the same way.
Right. So now we'll transfer right into the bad. Since we're talking about the infected, we'll talk about the lack of infected. That was probably the worst part of this series, is the infected are basically in 2 episodes. That's it?
Yeah, like you had the general, like the first infection, like at the beginning of the show. Phenomenal. Yeah. So well done.
3 episodes.
And then you had infected kind of throughout the first episode, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, like they're all runners, nothing like major.
Then the second episode was tentacle time that we just talked about.
But they nailed the museum tension with those clickers. Like that was one of my favorite scenes. That was my favorite scene of the entire show.
And I don't think they've said it by name, and they may not have even said it, but from what I've been hearing, they want to keep the infected like in their back pocket to make sure that people, like the viewers, don't get used to them. And I get that, but I think they just went too far with it. Yeah. Like, the infected are a big part of this world for a goddamn reason. It's because it's awesome.
Yeah, and like from what we saw in the show, I don't think the government would have had this much trouble keeping it under control, because
obviously,
like when Joel made it to was it Marlene, that was like, how the heck did you make it across the country with just 2 people?
Yeah.
And I wanted Joel to be like, well, I don't know, we ran into like 3 things on the way.
Yeah, it wasn't too much, and like it makes sense that they'd be all piled up in the cities because that's where all the people would have gone down.
Oh yeah,
but it was just like you can have the odd like group of them in the woods.
Yeah, like they never ran into a single one in the woods. That was weird.
Yeah. But the next part may be controversial. I haven't seen too many opinions on it. Kathleen is a shitty character, and I hate her, and she brought the episodes that were with her down a notch.
So, here's some backstory on me and my life, because I have been a Last of Us fan since it came out. I loved it. I've replayed the game so much, and I held off getting The Last of Us Part 1 like remake on the PS5 because I was like, this is so much money for like a 10-year-old game. But then they got me, like it went on sale right before the show started. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get this. I'm going to play through the game as the episodes happen. And it was really cool at first because I could see like the slight differences and everything. But then this episode happened with Kathleen, and I just didn't like her so much. I just stopped playing the game afterwards. I was like, this is just hurting my opinion on the show. It's going from bad to like fantastic, and I just can't keep doing this week to week.
And it was mainly that first episode with Kathleen that was the offender, because the next episode had more Joel, more Ellie. It had
more of the brothers.
Yeah, more of the brothers. Patrick and Tommy, whatever. That's Joel's brother.
Yeah, Henry.
Is Patrick one of them?
I don't know if Patrick.
Henry and little Henry.
Yeah.
And he's deaf now, and that's kind of cool. And it makes him even more like vulnerable than taking care of like a like a kid that's not like disabled.
Yeah.
You know? But and then Kathleen went full cartoon villain.
Yeah.
Right before she died, it was like, kids die all the time, and the voice, like, I'm sorry, I know the actress, you know, that's just how she talks probably, but that voice is not intimidating, and I think they kind of played into it well with her right-hand man, that she was constantly making horrible decisions. But at first I thought it was at first I thought it was supposed to be good decisions, but then like when she ignored the infected hole and was like, we gotta go find the people I'm mad at instead. Her right-hand man kind of looked at her like, are you serious? So at least there was that. It wasn't just us, but like, why would you still follow her if she's clearly that blinded by revenge that no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Also,
but she died cool because the
gymnast clicker girl, little girl, that was interesting.
Oh, that was so scary too when it was coming after Ellie in the car.
Yeah,
just like
begs the question: do the infected still grow like when they get infected, or do they get infected and then just stop? Because like clickers take a while to become clickers.
Oh yeah, no, she was. I think they just stopped because
or did she get bitten as a baby and just grew up as a little clicker?
I would assume they just stopped. But Henry and Sam, that's the name. Henry and Sam, I really liked. So the second episode with Kathleen, not nearly as bad, but that first episode with Kathleen, I was like, if she's a major character in this, like this is over.
Yeah.
They fucked up. But then she dies from the gymnastics infected kid. And Henry and Sam have the same tragic end.
Yeah, and I also didn't like that Kathleen's group, this little, like, guerrilla militia uprising resistance, they overthrew Fedra, but that was it. Like, they weren't the hunters. The hunters in that scene were, like, the best. Like, why are they stopping...
They had the truck.
A truck.
That was it.
Yeah. And, like, doing that if they're just people. Like... maybe they were starting to become hunters, but in the game, like, you find a burnt body pile of all these bodies the hunters have just killed for nothing. Like, they're taking shoes off of them and stuff like that. And it just, like, really hammers home how terrible humanity has, like, gotten in this apocalypse. And we didn't really get that with Kathleen and her bunch.
No, she was too busy going, kids die all the time. I'm a Saturday morning cartoon villain now.
I miss my brother. Let's kill these guys.
Yeah, adults die more than kids in this world, I assume, by your own damn logic, you idiot. Anyway, still, Kathleen sucked, but Henry and Sam, I liked. And they went out the same way. And they couldn't have done it any other way. Honestly, like if Henry and Sam had to go out like that.
That does raise a question to me, because obviously it didn't work the way that she tried in the show. But I wonder if an actual blood transfusion would have done anything for Ellie if she could like pass on a cure that way. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if it would, because like she was just being a kid and thought like she could help. And that's not how that's gonna work, and that made it a little sadder, but. Pretty much the same level of sad, because that was like the only kid up to that point Ellie had been seen interacting with.
Yeah, well, that's because kids die all the time.
Yeah, there we go. Kathleen was right. But holy shit, when that infected hole in the ground,
that's the good part.
That was phenomenal. When the truck fell in, and the bloater comes out, and Jesus. Anyway, back to bad.
So moving on from that, we'll come back to that little episode area of the show in a bit when we get to the good section. But the final bad one, that's really the best of the bad, is just some of the lines just did not hit the right way in the show.
And like, I don't think it was Pedro Pascal's part.
No,
I don't think it was any of the actors' faults. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe the director. I don't know.
I think some of it's just the way Pedro Pascal talks.
Well,
I really think that's part of it.
Well, it wasn't just him. It was like Joel's lines, some of Ellie's lines, some of Tess's lines were verbatim, but the emotions like weren't the same. Like we got more visual emotions because obviously the game came out in 2013, so like motion capture was not that good yet, and now we're getting real people faces, so you can see a lot more underneath the surface. But
Joel's performance, I mean Pedro's performance as Joel was a lot more understated than Troy Baker's, I think, was part of it, but I don't know how much of that was just kind of how he talks and acts, or
I know,
versus
like,
how the director told him to be.
For me, like the first one was when he yelled at, or when he was supposed to yell at Tess.
Yeah, instead of it's like
Instead
it is
of
over,
like,
Tess.
It's over, Tess. He's just like, Tess, it's over.
Yeah, he just kind of whispered.
But
it.
in the games, he's just like, it is over, Tess.
Yeah, it was awesome, and it was just like. But then there's also like the kneecap interrogation line. I was like, he did good. He did good.
Yeah. So there, he did good. Like, he doesn't say, "I'll pop your goddamn kneecap off" with as much rage as Joel, but then he says it calmly. The guy resists, and then Pedro brings out all this rage in his face when he yells at him.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, so that didn't hit the same, but then it hit almost better. And the way he said he believed the guy, and then he was just like, "Oh, I believe him," and then murdered the guy just like Joel. That one worked great.
That fucking awesome. Overall, I think the cast did a great job. It's just like certain little lines that are the biggest, most iconic moments from that game that stick in my head were either not there or very much like less.
Yeah,
like with the talk with Ellie in Tommytown.
He didn't even say the thing.
Yeah, Tommytown. No. As far as I can recall, no, there was no, "You are treading on some mighty thin ice here." Like
you saw it in his face, but he didn't actually say anything.
He was
to her like
very good at being angry, but not just like saying he's angry or shouting, you know. But that's because, like we said, that's the advantage of being filming a real person versus mocap from 2013 in someone's face, which probably wasn't that great.
And then, not just to pick on Pedro Pascal, but
he's the main character.
Bella Ramsey, as Ellie, had some scenes that she said verbatim that didn't hit right as well. Yeah. Like that one scene where she's just talking about how everybody in her life has either died or left her. That didn't hit quite as hard as the show or as the game in the show. Like, it got close, but it didn't quite hit it. And then the worst offender to me is, and it's a throwaway gag scene, but when Ellie's in the truck after Bill's compound.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
It really seemed like the actress was just reading the lines and going through it. Just,
how does he walk with that?
No, I think I know what part of the problem is with why the Ellie and Joel confrontation scene didn't hit as hard for me, at least. Is because they didn't start building their relationship more kind of until after that episode.
Yeah, that too.
Because the rest of the time they were... I mean, they don't have as much time as the game. Because, you know, they're not walking down the hallways just talking to each other throughout the show like you do in the game. So I think that might have been part of it for me. Is like, I wasn't buying their bond as much until a few episodes later into the show when they really started talking to each other more and bonding more.
One more quick negative before we move on to the positives. Throw a goddamn brick once in a while, or a bottle,
and no traps. That wasn't as good. But there was setting traps isn't maybe necessarily entertaining television, but it could have been something.
They could have had a few.
We could have had at least one shrapnel bomb.
Well, Bill had a lot of cool traps.
Well, that's
that weren't
thing
in the game, and that was really cool.
They had Bill's notebook of how to make everything. They should have made a couple of traps before they left.
Yeah. And I mean,
save it for later.
It could have been a cool scene where clickers are coming down on them. You throw a bottle, the clickers run to it, just like in the games. Like, that could have been an awesome scene that we just didn't get. But moving on into the good stuff, it's ultimately the exact same story as the games, and that could not be better. Like, honestly, I don't even think this show is for us. It's for the general public that doesn't play games or anything like that.
I watched it with my wife, and she's not played the game, and she was way more enthralled than I was, because I knew it was coming. My main source of excitement for that show was seeing her see David, seeing her see Henry and Sam's death, like all the big moments. That was my main source of excitement. I was like, she has no idea. She has no idea. And the giraffe. Like, it doesn't always have to be a bad moment. Like, her seeing the giraffe. It all went exactly as I thought it would, because this story just f***ing hits on every level. It's great.
And overall, the show captures the same feeling as the story.
Yeah.
Which, the video game and the show, the feeling is just bad. It is not good, but there are some nuggets of goodness in there that if you stay with it long enough and dig deep, you get the good feeling moments like the giraffe, but then that's followed up with hey, it's on her brain. We're gonna murder her in surgery and try to make a cure, but maybe not. We'll see if it works.
Yeah.
And then
And I like that they explained how the cure, how she's immune a little more. Not necessarily how she became immune. That was a little weird.
Yeah, I didn't like that she's just Blade.
yeah,
Like, she is Blade.
Blade, baby.
She got bit while being born, and
It would have been better
whatever.
if she had gotten
Not
bit,
murder.
if the mama had gotten bit, and then like an hour later, the baby was born. But immediately,
Or
I was
like-
like, "There's no way that fungus produced in there that quick."
Yeah. Even
But-
just give her like 10 minutes or something.
Something like it was immediate. We didn't even see the baby get born. She was just stabbing, and the baby was out.
To be
Like,
fair,
I
it was a stalker, so maybe it's stealth fungus, so it
yeah.
moves faster through the
But-
umbilical cord.
Ashley Johnson being the mom was a really nice touch.
I did
Yeah.
like that. There were a lot of cool cameos
Troy Baker
through
being one of David's people was a really
the
nice
original
touch.
cast.
Until he got cleaved in the damn throat.
Tommy
then-
being Kathleen's right-hand beard man was cool.
And then Marlene was just herself.
Oh, that
right?
was Tommy?
Yeah, that was
That's
Tommy.
cool. Marlene reprised her role as
Yeah.
Marlene.
That
That
was-
was really good.
But overall, the same feeling that's just bad, and then it's good. We also liked most of the additions to the show.
All it did was add more lore, and I like that.
Lore is great.
Yeah.
Like, we
'Cause,
love
like, you had
Metroid
the
Prime
fucking-
here, and we like seeing more Last
You
of Us
had
lore.
the goofy guy from the Mummy in like the '60s was like, man, these fungus. You watch out for that shit.
Yeah, that interview was really cool. How he was just like, yeah, theoretically, like, you know,
And he
this
was like,
shit
and we
could
don't.
happen.
And he
Yeah,
was like,
and-
we don't even have a cure. We can't cure this, and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
I,
was
I
like,
loved that, how like they were presenting it as like a joke at first with that talk show host.
Yeah.
and then he
And
scared
then
everybody.
Everybody was just like, oh.
They didn't have the internet,
no.
so it was like, have you heard of this cordyceps shit? And everybody was like, that's horrifying.
And then the host was just like, moving on.
Yeah.
Because
And
like
then,
he didn't know what to do.
The lady in Jakarta, the expert
Oh my
lady
God,
in Jakarta.
yeah.
So before we
good.
get to that, them explaining that it came from flour, like that.
That was
really-
great, because this
like-
thing would not have spread that much if it was all through bites.
All through bites, no, but
But if it's
everyone,
in flour,
like bread-
everybody eats biscuits. Like, come on.
Yeah,
Like,
you tell me.
biscuits, sandwiches, pizza,
They
like
offered.
cake.
They offered Sarah the cookies,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
Grandma got all freaky, and that was that was amazing. Like the off-focus like jump scare or whatever you want to call that was. It's like opposite of a jump scare. She's in the scene the whole time, but then she's like, and it's like the
yeah.
so good.
But then, like Scotty was starting to say before I got sidetracked with flour, the expert fungal
The
expert in
Yeah,
Jakarta.
that was doing the autopsy we were talking about
yeah,
earlier.
just lifted up
Like,
that flap of skin. There's just like tendrils.
fungus.
And she was like, what the f-? And then the military guy asked her what to do. She just said bomb. Didn't even say a sentence. She just said bomb. And then, like, elaborated. She's like, let no one escape or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
and it's like, can I go
Jesus.
have a few moments left with my family because the apocalypse is upon
Yeah.
us?
And the military guy was just like, oh,
Holy shit. This
Like,
this-
I thought she was going to give me something to do.
Yeah.
She did.
Oh, I
Bomb.
know, but
And it's already gone. But even if they did bomb that city, you ain't stopping it.
Yeah.
Because
And
that bread's gone.
this was in the game, but technically it wasn't because it's way more elaborated here, way different. But the entire Bill episode
Yeah.
was good, like
And it's still...
because
Yeah.
you didn't even see Frank in the game except for his hanging torso. But like now you get to see like this story of like
You gonna make me cry?
Like-
yeah, you gonna
Yeah.
make me cry.
heartfelt
That's what
moment
happened.
in the apocalypse build up from nothing.
And Bill's more than just a piece of shit, which I enjoyed.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I did kind
He's
of...
still kind of shitty, but he's not like a completely unrepentant asshole.
Yeah, and I kind of missed having to like trek through his trap town.
Yeah,
But
I did think it was a little
some
bit.
of those traps though. Good lord.
I thought it was a bit of a missed opportunity. We didn't get to like see Joel and Bill palling around, and it's just like Ron Swanson,
Yeah.
like saying the sarcastic dick shit Bill did in the town. Like, I wish that was it, but then him and Frank growing ancient together and being extremely sad and happy at the same
Yeah.
time.
And then
It was worth it.
It's a perfect example of how to change something, but in an adaptation like this, because they changed it drastically, but it still got the story where it needed to be.
Yeah, it ultimately
Like,
didn't change
It didn't
anything.
change really anything because you still had his truck and his supplies and whatever, and you still got to like it was awesome. It was a very good episode, and then like the fuck? There was no infected in those, so was there?
Maybe
there was a little at the
bit.
beginning, I think,
but ultimately not really.
But that
oh man, though his like childish glee when he was like,
he was
raiding the Home Depot and stuff.
He was just
that was a great scene.
He was just Ron Swanson.
He was just like
that was
society left, and they left me alone to have fun.
Yeah.
They also dove a little bit deeper into Joel's like backstory and character a little bit because like he had that scar, and he said some guy shot at him and missed.
Yeah.
And it turns out that guy was him, and I know it was soon after. Like it was like he said it was like day 2 of the infection or something.
The next
like
day.
he just couldn't cope with the Sarah loss and everything, and I really felt like it kind of like gave a little more depth to his character, that like he was looking to take that easy way out, and then he just didn't, to find something else to fight for, and now he finally found it with Ellie.
But oh man, and I like that a lot. This is where I like Pedro's performance in this way a little better, because I wouldn't have bought it as much from Troy Baker's Joel that he was like, you know, just like super dead to the world, depressed, and was gonna end it, because he always seemed like it's time to fight, like kind of stuff. But Pedro sold the sad side of Joel, I think, a little better than Troy Baker did.
Yeah.
And then one small detail that was like, it really helped make it pop, was Ellie's like old world ignorance, because she grew up in the quarantine zone. She doesn't know what the hell a seatbelt is.
That was fun.
Yeah, then Joel's just like, seatbelt. She's like, what? What is that?
She was just so excited to be in a car. Like, she's like, I've heard of these things pretty much. Like, I don't know if she said that. She said it about planes.
Yeah,
like, you've been in one of those? Oh my god!
You know, she'd seen like Jeeps and stuff, but yeah, like the planes comment or
yeah.
Because I remember in the game it was a little bit like, man, I can imagine this city without vines all over the walls and
yeah,
like
there was
that.
a little bit, not quite as much, that like really led to like some childish like innocence in this world and in Ellie and everything. And we talked about it earlier, but that's kind of like, that episode was when Joel like kind of started like opening himself up to Ellie and like building the relationship we know and love from the games and everything. And that was cool to see. And then the last thing we are going to talk about today is probably one of the biggest positives, because it's one of the biggest negatives, because we didn't get to see a lot of it, but the infected effects were phenomenal.
Yes.
Like,
whether practical or CG, either way they nailed it.
like they nailed it.
Those
like,
clickers looked amazing.
I know there was a lot. I know a lot of it was practical and a lot of it was CG, and I can't tell which. So, good job.
So they did a phenomenal job with like the look and the feel of all the infected, because like we get that one quick little segment in the museum with the clickers we talked about earlier. Like the tension is up, it is there, it's just like the games, and it was fantastic. And then we get like kind of almost like a World War Z amount of zombies coming in to take on Tess and everything, and then Tess blows everybody up while she's making out with that one.
I really like that part about the little network too, because they stopped dead where the tendril thingies were touched.
Yeah.
Like, they just stopped dead right there. And that was a really cool touch. They're like, yeah, go there. But they did not progress further. So it's like, that was really cool. That if you leave the area, you're fine.
Yeah. And then, obviously, the big boy, the bloater effects. My God, like, they handled him so well.
Ripped that guy's head off.
Unfortunately, we didn't see much of him, but what we did see, holy shit.
And that was another big-ass horde of them, too, just led by King Bloater.
And they came out of the ground. It was ridiculous. I love it.
The bloater, especially, like, showing how useless firearms were against it was fantastic. Like, I don't think no one took it down. Like, it just ran up the whole time, and then they were just like, we gotta leave.
The way they could have taken it down, sank it to the ground. All you can do with that thing is probably run it over.
Yeah.
Unless you have, like, grenades and flamethrowers and shit.
Yeah.
But they did not.
Yeah.
No Molotov cocktails either. That's the easiest way in the games, but like that fungal armor, like bullets don't do much to it.
I just moved past them when I could. I mean, like, unless it forced me to fight them, I was like, I'm not wasting resources, and I just crept on by. like the ones right before you get to the hospital. I think I was just like, I'm not fighting 2 of these, and I just like snuck by. I was like, no, I'm good.
But ultimately, that is everything we liked and didn't like about The Last of Us show. A quick neutral one. I wish there would have been a little bit more hints towards The Last of Us Part 2. Because we got a little bit with like some shy girl that's probably Dina looking at Ellie in Town.
Mm-hmm. Like if what's her name?
Abby?
Buff girl. Yeah, if Abby was off like in another room or in the corner of that room, and like Joel didn't know she was there. She's just like saw her dad get fucking murdered.
Like saw a cowering little girl in the hospital while he's on his murder rampage. Like that would have been a cool touch if he sees her. Like obviously, you know, he's like, I'm not gonna murder a little girl, and moves on. That would have been an interesting touch. Like nothing, no sign of Abby or anything like that. Like even if there was just like a whisper of. I forget their name, but the cult and stuff in The Last of Us 2, even though that's like all the way up in Seattle, like, that's far away, but still.
Even if like, the doctor like just casually was just like, "Don't hurt my daughter" or something like.
Yeah, something like that.
Or like the end credit scene is Abby just goes back home. She's like, "Give me all the goddamn protein you've got," and starts lifting some shit. Like.
That's how it should have ended.
Just a little girl just like, give me that protein.
Give me that goddamn protein. I don't care. Give me them bugs. Give me them shrimps, whatever you got.
But ultimately, we liked The Last of Us a good bit. It was probably the best from game to screen adaptation of a game I've ever seen, because most of it was verbatim.
Yeah, in a way that was somewhat of a detriment because we knew exactly what was coming, but overall it's like, I didn't want them to change it either.
Yeah,
so it's like
it wasn't my favorite video game at like movie or show. Like it's not a good adaptation because it's wildly different. But I like Sonic 2 a whole hell of a lot. But
yeah, I think it's my favorite video game adaptation because there was just enough change where I was entertained. Yeah, But if I was watching it without somebody that didn't know the story, I don't know if that would be the case. Yeah. But it would still be very phenomenally made. And we'll see what the Mario movie does. That might be the best one after this.
So how would you rank it? Or rate it? So I'm going to go... I think I'm going to do a solid 8. Like, it was good, but could be better.
I'd probably say 8.5. Because I did like most of it, but there was just a couple of things that felt wrong.
I'll be 8.5 too, because like they could have bumped it up to a 10 with more infected. They could have bumped it up to a 9 with no Kathleen at all. It's like, I'm sorry to that actress. It's not her fault. I just hated that character. Like she was just insufferable, and not even in the cool way like David, who was awesome, but like, I mean, not cool, but you know what I mean, like the good villain kind of way. It was just like, I just don't want to see her anymore. Even if she doesn't die, just get her off screen.
But ultimately, Last of Us seems to be controversial anywhere it goes these days. After Last of Us 2 leaked, like, there's no end to the controversy. So there's been some hate on it, there's been some love on it, but we gotta let y'all know our opinions on it, and I hope you let us know your opinions in the comments. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was good? Could be better? Bad? Could be worse? What did you think about it? Let us know, and stay tuned to BroTrio for more content.